kind of representation of how well the album has done so far, even before release, which is awesome to see that it's almost like 700,000, or it was like 620,000 streams already or something.
Yeah,
Um,
that is amazing.
yeah.
So when you were creating the album altogether, did you always know it was going to be self-titled? Because I always think self-titled is such a huge album for a lot of bands when they decide to go that route.
Yeah, we had the idea for the self-titled stuff like quite early into the album's writing period, and the writing period was only about 3 months, by the way, so it was a pretty short period of time. And I think it was, yeah, I decided that I wanted it to be self-titled pretty much. I don't know, maybe like a month into it, because it was very we had a lot of influence from Emarosa's self-titled, so
Wow.
that's even in the colors of the album actually. So uh, yeah, I knew it would be kind of an album that would be different from Metropolis, which you just played.
Yeah.
Um,
What a track! What an
and
album!
yeah, it's different in quite a few ways. So the main reason why we called it self-titled was because for the first time, like Metropolis was an album that we all kind of worked very separately on. And our guitarists Max and Eugene, they wrote their songs completely individually, like in a vacuum, right? And for this album, we had them basically writing the songs together, and Max would like write a foundation for the song, or Eugene would write a foundation for the song, and then the next would build off that and kind of refine it and get it to a point where it was ready to be demoed. So yeah, I felt like self-titled was a fitting kind of name for it because everyone had a hand in writing the album, and it felt very cohesive with the whole band. Even Sergey, screaming vocalist, he wrote the last track on the album. So um, yeah, it just felt right.
I love it.
Felt like the right thing to do. Yeah.
So, I mean, what a track to start off with, playing with fire. Tell us about that track. That one thing, especially me and my fiance, who has basically fallen in love with this band over the last month. One thing we always are blown away from, and everyone in the community as well, is lyrically, it's always like incredible. So, like, what's your inspiration when coming into writing the lyrics,
Um,
the lyrics to your
this
songs?
album, yeah, this album's a lot more kind of personal than Metropolis for sure. So with Metropolis was basically like while I love like some of the wordplay and the lyrics in Metropolis, it was most of the songs are just about like random nonsense, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
Um, like there's some lyrics in there that like are just there for shock value, essentially.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
and some people like that, some people don't like that. Like, it's just a taste thing. Some people can enjoy both. You never know. Um, but for self-titled, we really wanted to do something that felt more personal, something that felt more like grounded in a sense of relatability. I never really write about personal stuff. You can check back through like my catalog of music that I've written up to this point, up to self-titled, and there's not really that much personal, um, I guess, details available in those songs. They're all quite metaphorical and esoteric in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, so this album was a bit of a change of pace for me in terms of how I write my lyrics a little bit, because I've never really attempted to write quite personal, anecdotes about myself into songs and into lyrics. So playing with fire is about like my kind of early life as a kid, and how or my parents rather, were like split up before I was even like 5 years old, I think, or maybe even like slightly after I was born. But they decided to stay together to raise me and then my sister eventually. That was a kind of a different story. So it's about being raised in like a home that has two parents or two people that have grown apart and grown to dislike each other, different reasons quite a bit. You know, uh, it's very difficult being sort of like brought up in that environment as a kid. Like it wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't abusive or violent or anything. I love both my parents. But yeah, it's about growing up in that sort of toxic sort of environment that can sort of like send you one way or the other as a human being. You could either become like a very a very shitty person and get very jaded and angry, or you can kind of just learn to try and deal with it somehow, which is hopefully what I've been able to do, and then write about it in some of these songs. So yeah, playing with fire is just about like a lot of those details that went on during that time. So if you read the lyrics, it's pretty much, I tried to be kind of like as unambiguous in this album as I could be, so people could kind of like read the details in the songs without having to dig too deep. That's not to say I want them to be like superficial, or I want them to be like, only skin deep. It's just because I don't want them to be misinterpreted, I guess.
Sure.
So yeah, that's pretty much what that song is about. At the I think my my webcam is like trying to get hijacked by my antivirus or something.
It's all right.
What's going on?
I'm sure it'll catch up. I tell you what, if you want to try and sort out, and we'll play the amazing first track. This is playing.
Yeah,
with fire.
I'll rejoin quickly.
Yeah, sure, mate. Sonny, thank you so much for the sub. Again, if anyone has any questions for Tom, put them in the chat and I'll ask them at the end of the song.
Oh, I fixed it.
What an opener! Incredible. A lot of love for this track in the chat, saying obviously Rolfie was a big fan of yours, saying how well in yours and Sergei's vocals go well together.
Oh
Wholeheartedly
yeah, well
agree.
then, then he'd probably really like the last song on the album too, since that's got us like doing both doing screaming, which is interesting. But yeah, thank you guys, thank you.
Yeah, so not rest on your laurels. You step it up even further, in my opinion, with the next track. So firstly, if anybody looks at the track list, you'll notice quite a few amazing features on this album. So how did it come about for you to get Tobias on?
Tobias was a friend of, or is rather, sorry, or was as in we talked to him in the past, but he is a friend of Phil's, who's also on the album. And you know they know each other, so Phil was just in the studio doing some stuff for us and other stuff one day, and then he um said Tobias is also around doing stuff. Do you want me to ask him if he'd be interested in being on this song? And we said, yeah, like why the hell not? And at that time he wasn't in, Novelist yet.
Yeah,
They just announced the breakup with Alaska, and yeah, he was just, good to work on something, which was great. Yeah, it was basically that easy. Where it was just a kind of a fortunate series of events.
those are the series of events that we enjoy.
Yeah.
So lyrically on Youngblood,
Mm.
can you explain a little bit about this track?
Yeah, so lyrically, Youngblood, or rather, the whole thing, Youngblood was like the first written track for the album. It's the song that kind of set the tone for the rest of the album as well. Um, and I think lyrically, it's a kind of an homage song to she had the song Sunshine Youngblood from Emarosa. Just the first part.
Yeah,
um, so yeah, so that's present in the lyrics as an homage, but sonically it sounds pretty different. Um, and I think the lyrics mainly are just about kind of like I'm a person that is always like inside, like almost 90% of my week, right? I get to go like outside to get a coffee and do some shopping and like any other kind of stuff that I need to do. But
I
yeah,
can relate. I can relate massively.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I'm either at work for like 8 hours a day, and then I get home, and by the time I get home, it's already twilight or it's getting dark. And then I'm inside for the whole night. Wake up, repeat that for 4 or 5 days. And then on the weekends, I'm usually inside working on music. This song is like about that feeling of that, like even without COVID and all that stuff, like keeping me inside and making sure I'm not being too social
Yeah,
in a sense. This song is kind of about that sense of like I guess isolation and wanting something more than just like even if you like being inside, it's kind of like about that feeling of um yeah, isolation, wanting to go and do things, I guess, outside, even if you don't really like have the drive for it, but like kind of wishing you did, in some ways. So, so yeah, it's about dealing with that sort of, you know, uh, I guess cycle that we all go through as people, in a day-to-day life, I guess. It's not as kind of like lyrically representative of any personal part of myself like the first track was, but it's still, an important thing that I think about and was thinking about when I wrote this song. Um so yeah, that's about I think that's about all there is to it really. I think it's just about, how that makes me feel personally.
yeah.
And yeah, that's about all there is to it.
That's great. One thing
Yeah.
I do want to ask you about is I
Hmm.
obviously don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I generally think nobody does melodic runs and vocals as good as you, in my opinion. So
Oh, thank you.
I want to touch on like how do you go about the melodies and the hooks and your vocals with the guitar and everything is always so good. How in the writing process do you come to create those? How do you come up with them? Is it you and
uh
Sergey? Is it Yeah, we've even got.
No, it's just me for even Sergey's parts. I write his screaming parts as well. So what happens with all these songs, even on Metropolis or this album?
Yeah,
Pretty much everything you hear on this album is the same as the first demo or the second demo. It never goes past that point really. So pretty much I get sent the instrumental, I demo it for about a week maybe, and then that's it. And that's usually the song is done, or that's how it went for this album anyway. So it's just when singing on all of these songs, you know, write the vocals, melody wise, it's literally just a first pass. So I don't mean to make that like braggy. I don't.
It doesn't surprise me. We've got a comment saying Tom Byrne, king of melodies. So
yeah. So all these are just what comes out usually in a first. A first laying down of vocals, and we don't change it much from there because my kind of philosophy. Wish I would have got a bottle of water now.
Dude, you want to get that water? You go for it.
That's all right. I might pop off when you're playing this one. But yeah, it's really kind of like what you hear in the final product is almost same as or very very similar to, you know, the first demo that we ever did for the song.
Yeah.
But you know, like obviously Tobias is in it, and Tobias is actually just singing the melody that I had pre-written there, which is, you know, I really appreciate that you know, you can get a featured vocalist and have them, you know, they might be more preferable to a writing position than just a position where you give them everything and then they just, you know, lend their voice. And for this album, it was, you know, having it be a very personal album, we wanted it to be, you know, just someone that we had a appreciation for in their voice, to join us on a song we'd already written. We didn't really need any outside writing input from anyone. Kind of just wanted to work with other excellent vocalists and see how they would handle our songs and handle our writing. But you know, there's people that prefer that and then prefer to work a different way. But yeah, I'm glad Tobias was up for just doing, you know, what we had written there, and that he liked it enough to not want to change anything or, you know, just be a real standing person about it and just work with us wholeheartedly on it. But yeah, it melody wise, it's pretty much just what you would hear in the first demo of our material, and there's not really, I don't sit down and I don't think about the melodies or even the lyrics too much before I start writing them. It's all basically done in like a
they obviously come very naturally.
Yeah, well, it's just what comes emotionally, I guess. You just do what feels right. What like whether it's screaming or singing, you just like just what fits the song and what fits you in the moment emotionally as a person. So yeah, none of my songs are really songs that I spend too much time on melodically. I kind of just let what's gonna come out in the demoing process. And then I just kind of leave it. And, you know, we listen to it over and over again over a certain period of time, and we make small adjustments. But yeah, as of all like the runs and the melodies on all of these songs, they all operate the same way, which is, a very quick and easy way to work for us. Not saying that we don't want to put in more time, but sometimes you can also get in your own head about, you know.
It's obviously such songs. a great and cohesive way for you all to work. It all sounds great.
Yeah.
So, dude, you go get your water. This is Youngblood, everybody.
All right, I'll be back in a sec.
Straight in. How we doing, everyone? If you could please let your friends know. I know it's a bit later. Please host the stream. Share it on your social media. Appreciate you all for being here. Lisa, hello love. Cadence, hello love. Deadly 8, hello. Funny, Nicky, Rolfie, love you. Those melodies. There's Tobias. I just love that track. How the melody just hits instantly. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, originally that was meant to be like an instrumental opening, so that's interesting that
really,
we
I love
decided to
that.
go that route. Yeah, because like we were like, the song was like inspired by "Share the Sunshine, Youngblood" by Amorosa, so that had an instrumental opening that's like super, like the melody just catches you instantly even from the instrumental. So like we're like, oh, we could go that route, or we could just start it off like right in your face with everything.
Yeah, I
And we
think it
decided to go that
honestly
route,
it
but-
takes so much skill to have a hook and a chorus like instantly from the first note. I love it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. So I knew from the first demo that that's how we wanted it to sound. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
nice. So track 3, obviously, like you said, it's much more personal, this album, and this. Obviously, you don't have to go into lyric. You can go in as far as into lyrics, but this one for me seems incredibly personal. Whether it's
Yeah, yeah. I'll actually bring up the lyrics on my end as well, just so I remember.
I love it.
What all of them are.
That's a proper deep dive.
So, just because I haven't looked at the lyrics for these songs in a while, they're kind of just on memory now. But I want to make sure I get this correct.
Yeah.
I'll just find them more quickly. But yeah, while I'm looking for it, yeah, what this song is about, and a lot of these songs on this album are about similar things, or this similar thing rather. But it's a relationship that I had for 3 years, where it was a long distance relationship with someone that it was a very difficult thing to do for both of us. And that's not what this song is about particularly, but like it's about an overall feeling. But no, this song is kind of part of that and came from that, but it's not about them or about that situation. In general, it just kind of stemmed from it. The song is kind of just about, especially when you're in a relationship, kind of perpetuating that lie that you think it's going to go on forever. And like especially if it's something like, not to say that anyone that's in a relationship that's that's going to happen, but it's like it's something that has happened to people, relationships that haven't worked out.
Yeah.
And it's about how when you're I think that ain't no crown, my love. It's just a lie that's painted gold. Is the obviously the first defining lyric of the album. It opens with that, and what that means to me is basically, when someone holds themselves in such high regard, whether in a relationship or just in general, or whether it's narcissism or wishful thinking or just something that kind of they not to say that it's not feeling good, like not to feel good about yourself, but it's kind of whether it's it could be ego, narcissism, or anything like that, from it could be from either end of a relationship where you're just got that feeling of whether it's not superiority, that might be the wrong word, but something like that along those lines, or thinking you're better than someone, or thinking like whether this is kind of like talking about towards like the end of something where feelings have been hurt and you're or like things are being said that you don't want to be said, or that you don't really want to say, and you think you're the good guy, and that the other person is the bad guy, or rather that you're in this sense, I guess the metaphor is the crown, and that's just not the case. There's gray areas in life, and I guess in relationships as well, where there's no one side to things. There's no a good guy or a bad guy. It's just kind of it is what it is. It's you're both affected by this thing, and so yeah, it's just a lie that's painted gold. Is basically the line that illustrates for me that all the time, and depending on what sort of situation has happened, it's been just a thing that you've kept telling yourselves is going to work out, and then it doesn't. So it's like it feels like you've been lying to yourselves for years, and just painting over it in a sense, and then it's just a petty facade that you've kept up for so long is kind of itself. I mean, it explains itself, I guess, once you know meaning behind those first two lines. So it's just something that you keep up and you keep telling yourselves for so long until it can no longer be sort of ignored, I guess. So yeah, that's basically what the chorus is about. And you're just a fraud that's come undone. It's not to say like that like you're blaming someone else, and it's not to point that finger. It's a line that can be like aimed towards yourself or someone else, but it's really kind of like a gray area song about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then the verses kind of just go into, once again, the word you, like as in like saying someone else, I'm talking to someone else, is used, but it can be sort of like an inner monologue type of song as well. So like you've played me and shamed me and turned me into dust. That could be, I mean, that's something that you could think to yourself, like that you've played yourself, that you've shamed yourself by, doing this for so long that, it feels like you've lost like a part of your life, in a sense. And then like, you gave me everything, yet it still wasn't enough. That's like a conversation that I've had with everyone. Like we've tried to be, open with each other and stuff like that, and give everything, like that we can give to each other, and it still doesn't work, whether it's time or things, or like material things, or, whatever it is, giving sometimes like a person doesn't want everything. It's just they want something different. So no matter how much you give someone, it's only gonna be, it's only gonna be so much, whether it's you think it's everything that you have to give, or whatever. But yeah, some different things make different people happy, so it all depends. And then it's just about that sort of feeling of I guess dealing with that sort of situation.
Well,
So
thank you for being so eloquent and like honest with everything. It's honestly,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's all on the page already, so there's nothing to hide, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's could use some explaining, I suppose. Some songs like this where I use a bit more of a metaphorical context. But yeah, most of it's on the page, so I've got no problem being as open with it as I can be.
well, amazing. Honestly, thank you again for coming on and, like I said,
Yeah, no, don't mention it.
being saying it's truly, honestly, find it amazing. Yeah, here's That Ain't No Crown.
Yeah.
You just love it. Absolutely incredible, like everyone saying. We've got a question for you, Tom. Mikis wants to know,
Shoot.
how are you wearing a hoodie and beanie in that weather? Fun fact, Tom, first thing he said to me joining the call is that he's cold. There you go.
Yeah, it's hold on, I'll check what temperature it is here. It is I mean, like usually we're heading into winter now in Australia. So it's in the mornings it's still pretty cold. It's 15 degrees now. That's my room gets pretty cold just because of insulation. In Australia, it gets hot as fuck. So houses are built with very strong insulation.
Yeah.
Which means it gets very cold in winter and then keeps you cold, or hopefully colder in summer. But yeah, it's 15 degrees outside. Feels like maybe like 10 degrees in here. So
That's what
just a bit chilly.
that's warm for us, and Mikis is from Finland, so
Oh yeah, I've never experienced cold like that. So I only know cold like this, which
Yeah.
is not cold compared to that.
yeah, for sure. So, hate the player, not the game. Was this the first single? I think from the album.
This is the first single and probably the like second song written for the album. Actually, no, maybe third. I think that ain't no crown was second song that was written. I think Youngblood, That Ain't No Crown, and then Hate the Player Not the Game were like all written kind of like in a chunk.
Right.
And Max sent them all over as like, you know, just 3 demos in a row. So all these have that's the reason they're so close to each other on the album, because they all have a similar kind of like sonic sound to them that you know, they all fit together one after the other or next to each other in a track list. So we felt that it was a good idea to keep them together for that reason. So yeah, we kind of like thought quite a bit about why or where things should go in this track list of only 10 songs. But yeah, this was probably like the second or third song written, and it's a song that I kind of like find different meanings in, depending on the context. Because the name for one of the song is just a funny play on words, or funny depending on whether you find it funny or not.
No, yeah, definitely. It kind of reminds me of like a classic Galleons title track, song track.
For sure. So the usual phrase is "Don't hate the player, hate the game." But I think the title for this song came first. I want to say, or no, I think I don't remember. I'm going to contradict myself probably in another interview that the lyrics came before the title. I think the lyrics maybe came first. It's kind of like I don't remember too well, but I'm pretty sure the song title came first. I'm pretty sure like I had it in like a notes document on my phone where I just thought it was a silly name. And then it turned into lyrics later on in the song and kind of like took on more of a meaning for me as a song name as I began to write it more and more. So like "Hate the Player, Not the Game" is basically about saying that you know, like "Don't hate the player, hate the game" is a phrase that basically says, you know, don't blame someone else, like hate the you know, it's like basketball for example, like you don't hate the person playing on the court, you hate the game in general, if that's what the phrase is kind of like saying, that you know, the game is rigged itself. Or rather that you're meant to lose because of the game. But in flipping the script on this name and kind of like swapping that around, I'm basically saying, it's a song that says like, you know, take accountability for your actions, instead of blaming, you know, a situation or something that you've gotten yourself into, or rather might be a situation that's happening to you, but you know, you can do something about it, and you can you have input and agency. So it's like just a song that says, you know, take that agency and take that accountability while you have it, and do something with it. And that can be kind of applied to many different things, but for me it's kind of it's mostly about, you know, my personal life and my also like, you know, music and stuff as well, and kind of just taking what I see personal life and in music as being, or something that can be successful, and trying to do something with it. I guess in that sense the song's also about, you know, wasted opportunity and how people might have something great going, but somehow, you know, whether it's because of, you know, their actions or someone else's, you know, somehow it just gets fucked up. It's about those two things mainly, I guess. Just accountability for yourself, instead of blaming some, you know, overall thing at hand, whether it's a situation or be anything. And then also, you know, not, I guess, just like shooting your shots. and making sure that you're say with music, we've been making this band work for 5 years now from vastly different locations. We all live like thousands and thousands of kilometers away from each other. So, it's kind of just about, taking those shots and regardless of how slim the chances of things working out might be, it's kind of about that. And, that's, it's kind of, I think that's kind of like the main theme of the song for me. I could probably go into explaining every line individually, but I think we just circle back around to that main theme anyway.
Yeah, shoot your shot. This is hate the player, not the game. Again, any questions for Tom?
Against me, so I fall. We'll manifest our destiny. I want you here right next to me. I wanna feel your skin on mine. No sense of full security. I wanna give you all that I can be. Don't you worry, baby, I'll never leave you behind. Don't you turn off.
So that was the incredible Hate the Player, Not the Game. Now, I've been very excited to talk to you about the next track because Garrett and the Colour Morale, one of my all-time favourites, and I think I can definitely hear in your vocal a lot of Garrett rap inspiration, in my opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
But what was it like? What was it like approaching him and obviously him coming on the track?
It was terrific talking to Garrett. We still talk to him even now. Like we sent him some merch and stuff, and he's been he's an amazing guy,
He is,
both
yeah.
vocally and just as a genuine person, which I'm sure a lot of other people will attest to as well.
Yeah.
His music, both lyrically and just overall with the color morale. Of course, yeah, that's a big inspiration to me as a vocalist, and that sort of like, yeah, part of my voice that might remind people of him is definitely there because of him. So yeah, his music, that's something that I've listened to for years and has helped me both as an artist and personally. And it's fantastic and kind of a surreal kind of moment to finally work with someone that you've listened to for 10 years or so,
Yeah.
since I was in high school. And yeah, getting him on a track, we approached him through, I'm both he and I are on the website or the platform Featured X, which is, helping
Yeah,
with
that is incredible nowadays.
really
isn't it,
helpful for, working and collaborating with other artists now that, are much bigger than yourself, and kind of like getting a surefire way to reach out to them and see if you're able to hire them to work with you, which is great. Because at the end of the day, and I know some people don't like hearing this, but music is a business, and the way that they survive is the same way that a lot of other people survive, and that's money. You need that to survive, unfortunately, a lot of the time. So paying them to do their work is the best way to do it. And that doesn't affect the creative element at all. It just it kind of gives you peace of mind and gives them peace of mind that they're going to do the work and they're going to do it well, and they're going to they're going to give you what you expect of them, basically, which is the best thing, because that's what you want in the end, for your song to be as good as it can be. So yeah, we approached Garrett through that platform. He pretty much messaged us back, I don't know, within a week or so, or a few days. Said yeah, like he liked the song and was keen to get on it for sure. So yeah, it just all happened pretty seamlessly through that, and then we got in touch with him on other socials and stuff, and talked to him, sent him some merch as well. So yeah, he's a terrific dude, and we really appreciate all the input that he had in the song. Once again, this is a melody that was pre-written for the track, and he was happy to just be a part of it and sing the melody, and he crushed it. So couldn't ask anything more of him to from this track. But yeah, it was phenomenal working with him.
Yeah, amazing. I know there's a lot of Colour Morale fans in the chat, especially Lisa, so enjoy. This is Let's Pretend featuring Garrett.
she glows. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Her skin as white as snow. In the summertime she glows. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Her heart turns black and cold, with poison in her roll. Run away from the day where you run. Look at yourself, what's a race? And the words they choke you down.
That is such a beautiful song. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, we had what's it called? That pinned as the first single of the album actually, but we didn't have like I knew I wanted a featured vocalist on it, so it kind of like got pushed to the side more and more into single number 3 as we went along because we wanted someone like on it from that sort of like rise core era of
Yeah.
bands like 2010s, 2015. And we were circling on who to get for it for a long time. And then Garrett just popped into our brains one day, and we were like, yeah, that's
choice.
perfect.
It is
choice.
absolutely
And
perfect.
yeah, like this song is like just about if like people can't tell from the chorus lyrics, a lot of the stuff in this album was also like inspired by or influenced by like fairy tales and stuff like that, because the thesis of the album is basically not everything has a happy ending, which is illustrated by the album art as well. Which is kind of like a dark premise, but yeah.
Some of my favorite album art as well in a long time, which also
Oh, thank you.
created by yourself.
Yeah, I do all the art for both my bands.
Yeah, amazing. So, track 6,
Yeah.
Our Travel East's Fievel Goes West Part 3. I hope I said that right. Did I say it right?
Yeah. Fievel, yeah. So that's this is kind of like a running series of songs that we have that's been on, since our first ever EP back in like 2015. And this series of songs is basically, it started off as like something random, but then I started like including more and more details into it. And this song includes details from the previous song that kind of roll over. And this song is kind of like, if I just pull up the lyrics, it's kind of like a running story that comes from the second song as well. So, it's kind of like a story that's kind of like, it's almost like separate to a little bit separate to the theme of this album. That's more of a personal thing, that the song follows that story that continues on from the second song. It was actually a song that was about I guess not me. It's about like some sort of character or some sort of piece of narration that talks about someone else other than me. I guess in a situation that's similar. This song is similar in topic to what the other songs talk about on this album, but it's not really about me. It's more if you listen to I Travel East Part 2 from our first album, this song has references to that and kind of builds on a lot of things in that song. So it's kind of a bit of an esoteric series of tracks that don't really have I don't think I have a solid meaning for them yet. I think that's why I've been doing them in parts, because I've been trying to understand kind of what I've been writing about and where this is sort of going. And so far, the feeling that I get from this series of songs, part 1, part 2, and part 3, is it's about someone that doesn't trust other people very easily. And I can relate to that. It's not about me. I actually trust people quite easily. But it's about someone like, the lyrics are in the chorus, brave the night, you better run before your demons come to light. Which, is a very kind of, for me, it's a very simple lyric, but it basically talks about, this character that's in these songs. That is like some other unseen thing kind of talking to them, saying that, that's kind of like talking about trust in a way, and not kind of like fear of secrets coming out, but I guess like fear of like, you know, your emotions hurting someone else. So it's trust issue. This song talks about, you know, trust issues with yourself, trust issues with others, and trusting others. So yeah, I still haven't, like, that's, as I said, I'm still working towards kind of like an overall theme with this series of songs. So, you know, if there's a part 4 or a culmination to this series of songs, then maybe that sort of explanation will finally be reached in that, you know, that last song, if it ends up happening. But yeah, it's, you know, the second part of the chorus that comes in later is, you know, all my life I've relived, replayed, and gone over that night. But I know I can't turn back time. It's basically pretty self-explanatory. You know, there's just one. I think this is probably the most personal part of the song. You know, like as I talked about, that relationship that I had that kind of like took up a good chunk of my life. That, you know, there's only one. There's one time in that relationship where it all pivoted. And, you know, where it all, you know, started to fall apart, and that's kind of like talking about that a little bit, but it's a song that's not too much about myself. It's just about dealing with certain emotions and dealing with certain trust issues that, you know, once again, I don't particularly kind of have myself, but can, kind of relate to people that do. And I know people like that, you know, find it very hard to trust other people. And people that have let me in, and it's about not abusing that trust either. It's about not, you know, not appreciating that trust as well that people put in you, and you know, to be open with other people. But yeah, it's still kind of esoteric and it kind of like a meaning that's floating out there at the moment. So I think there's still a part of that song series that needs to happen, for it to feel kind of fulfilled and satisfying. And then once that happens, I'll kind of know what it's all been about. That's why in the song, in the lyrics, it asks, you know, tell me now, tell me true, why have I written 3 parts about you? I'm basically talking to the song. Yeah. I'm saying to the song, and it's kind of like a meta thing where I'm saying, you know, why have I written 3 parts about this? What does it mean? Like, what am I trying to find through these songs? You know, whether it's a personal thing that I'm trying to illustrate through the lyrics and trying to find over the course of these 3 songs, and a 4th or a 5th, however many it takes, really. And the name is basically taken from an old cartoon called An American Tail, Five Will Goes West, which is, I don't know why I chose that song. I think I was just looking for a weird song name, and that I loved that movie as a kid, so that like popped into my mind for some reason, just because I like the name Five Will Goes West. Like, it's just an interesting name to me. I Travel East as Five Will Goes West is basically meant to say, you know, I not me, but this character that's in this song is tending to, you know, go a different way. Or actually, like, this is what I mean by I don't really know what the song name means or the song means just yet. The character could either be Fievel from my perspective, or, you know, the person that is the I in this song name. So I'm kind of not sure which of these 2 the song is about yet. It's kind of still ambiguous, which is interesting to me.
I really love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without further ado,
so that's,
here we go. I can't wait for part 4.
yeah.
You say to me this should
love that ending.
Oh, me too. Like when we added added that to the song because we added it in because of the opening of Werewolf.
I was
Werewolf
about
starts
to
with
say, it's like
a
perfect.
cello. So
It's perfect
yeah,
to go into a song called Werewolf. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
Um,
I love that song. It's so varied, and again, vocally just
hmm,
shows
hmm.
the kind of
Yeah,
range you've got. Both here,
yeah. Well, that song, I
incredible.
think that song has like the highest note that I've reached with chest voice, I think, which is in that disappear part. So, um, yeah, that's kind of like probably as high as my voice goes currently with yeah, just singing normally and not in like falsetto or anything.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was I don't know how well I could pull that off in a live setting, but yeah, I'd give it my best shot. It's yeah, it was a very like kind of like fortuitous thing that happened because it's just like once I was like making my way through all these demos, you know, you get to a point where your voice is warmed up enough that you can
yeah,
just like try some shit that you wouldn't normally do or you would like exists outside of your comfort zone. So yeah, that song was really fun to write and sing for sure.
yeah. Amazing. Right, tell me about Werewolf.
So continuing the theme of like kind of like fairy tale inspired stuff on the album, like Let's Pretend was, you know, based on Snow White.
Yeah,
Werewolf is, you know, based on the Three Little Pigs, which is it 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 is also like part of the album art as well. So that's like the imagery that's on the album art. It's based on like the Three Little Pigs. And you know that album art once again illustrates, you know, the theme of like not everything has a happy ending, and it's kind of like a dark fairy tale almost sort of thing, where you know what would it be like if the wolf just decided to burn down the
yeah,
pig's house instead of trying to blow it down, which I thought was an interesting concept, and it was always kind of imagined to be that sort of thing from the start of the album, even from like the sketches of the album art, which is kind of like a a concept I didn't know if it was going to work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm glad it did. The Werewolf continues that trend of the sort of like fairy tale theme, and kind of says, I'll just pull up the lyrics here so I'm not getting this wrong. It's like about an anecdote. Once again, like you can relate it to relationships or whether it's romantic or personal or family. But basically, it's about you know how we can turn into completely different people when put into certain situations. Like it's essentially about that sort of what would you call it? I guess that sort of idea about you know how after you've been in something so long, you know, whether it's a relationship or just, I mean, it's kind of like life in general, where you're never the same person as you were 10 years ago. But you know, when you know someone really well, and then they kind of like turn out to be not who you thought they were. I guess that's what this song is about. Where it says like, you know, this one specifically is written about, you know, part of that relationship that I've been talking about. Where I feel like towards the end of it, I felt like, you know, I wasn't, just because of the, you know, things that were getting said back and forth. I wasn't happy with what I was saying. They weren't happy with what they were saying. You know, it's just a shit feeling when that happens. So this is about kind of that period of time, and whether, yeah, like I said, a relationship or family, whatever it might be, when you just don't feel like yourself, and you feel like, you know, almost like, yeah, you've turned into something else, and you're not essentially too proud of it. So yeah, the chorus is basically, you know, just the boy who cried wolf. That's what that was inspired by, but overall the whole song is inspired by, you know, like it's kind of like a mix of that, Three Little Pigs and then the boy who cried wolf. So it's like a wolf, he cries and teary-eyed, we all believe him. It's basically saying, same thing that story does. The same thing that the boy who cried wolf story does is basically like, you know, he keeps saying there's a wolf and there's a wolf and there's a wolf, and then there isn't, because he's just, you know, fucking with people, and then there turns out to be a wolf and it eats him. The wolf in that scenario is kind of like my emotions.
yeah,
And the boy is kind of the one that keeps saying, you know, like, in a way, I guess, it says like, you know, to ignore them and ignore them and ignore them until it all bottles up and comes out. So yeah, it's about kind of like, yeah, a mix between kind of like fairy tales and the theme of the album, but also like a more on a more personal level. It's about how we become people that we don't exactly like or like to see in ourselves sometimes. And yeah, that's about the main thing to it. There's not really anything too specific in there about like my personal life or anything. It's just about that feeling, and how kind of like scary it can be, to look at yourself through a different lens almost, and kind of, yeah, reflect on past times and realize, oh shit, like I can't believe I was like that back then, or something along those lines.
Sure, yeah. This is
Yeah.
this is Werewolf. Enjoy, everyone. Again, any questions for Tom? Get them in the chat. Unreal, dude. Honestly, I love it. I love that track
Yeah.
so much. I got a lot of love in the chat for this song as well.
Yeah, I like that track a lot as well on the album. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Probably that one and When in Rome are probably. I keep changing my mind. I change my mind like every day on this. Like a week ago, it was Playing with Fire and Casablanca, and then today it's, you know.
I think it's going to be a problem for a lot of people with this album because it's going to be on so many people saying they're off to save it to all the playlists. They love it that much, which
Awesome.
is why I do
Thank
it.
you so much, guys.
I love that. So this is what I'm excited for all of it because this album is so good. But this track, if anybody watches this stream will know because it's probably been my starting soon music for the past long time. It's got a lot of so many people come into the stream saying, "What is this? And why is this chorus illegal? Why is this chorus not illegal?" I honestly, I hope it doesn't make you feel comfortable. But I think it's honestly one of the best choruses I've ever heard, and I know a lot of people will agree with me. Honestly,
that means a lot. That means a lot.
So good. So tell us. Firstly, I think the big thing about this was getting. Obviously, Phil kind of stepped away for a while from. Yep. Obviously, stepped down from Time the Evaluator. So to see him come back, especially on a Galleons track, was incredible. So.
Yeah, well,
tell me
he's
about
also on.
Sorry, dude.
He's also on a new Valiant Hearts track, which is great. So that'll be very interesting. But yeah, Phil's a great friend of mine. He's an amazing guy that, you know, a phenomenal vocalist. Like his range and his just the mood that his voice sets is you know, he's one of my favorite vocalists.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he was in Time the Evaluator. When he was in Time the Evaluator, I guess you could say in the scene, but, you know, he's a dear friend of mine, and I think he's just a fantastic, one of the best vocalists I've heard personally. Just with his range and the texture of his voice and the mood that he's able to set, is phenomenal. And you know, once again, talking about you know how fortunate things happened along the way with like Tobias, and it was just good timing and luck. It's sort of the same thing with Phil, just on a longer period of time where, you know, Chelsea, the owner of Famine Records, also a very good friend of mine. She put me in touch with Phil just on a completely unrelated topic. Like he was wanting to hopefully one day move to Australia. So obviously me being in Australia I'm a good point of reference for, I've been here for, you know, my whole life. A good person to explain things to him and to try and help him, you know, try and find a way, hopefully, sometime in the future to get over here, because he loves Australia and he wants to, you know, spend some time here, whether it's a holiday or just, you know, living here, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, she put me in touch with Phil, and I had no idea that he was the vocalist for Time the Evaluator until like our second or third conversation. So I was just talking to him just as a guy, just, you know, two people talking to each other just about something completely unrelated to music. and then he was like, "Oh yeah, you might, like, I love your work. You might know me from, like, I was in Time the Evaluator like a year ago." I'm like, "Oh shit, like I've listened to, you know, How Fleeting, How Fragile for you know, ages."
Like
how fleeting, yeah.
Funnily, you mentioned Chelsea because when JMR originally, when I first started doing this, I just wrote reviews, and I just created a page, and it had maybe 10 likes something, and Chelsea messaged me and said, "Do you fancy writing a review about the new Time the Evaluator?" So like, yeah, what a lovely person, amazing. So I just absolutely love it. Tell me how you sculpted this chorus, because again, it's like it's Moorish. It's just incredible.
Once again, it's just the first thing that came out for the demo. That's all there is to it, really. I didn't really sculpt anything. It's just I don't. Yeah, and once again, I don't mean to make it sound narcissistic at all. It's just our writing process to just do what comes out naturally without you know. It was still refined. Like me and Phil worked on, you know, like the harmony stuff and like where his vocals would sit in the chorus and stuff like that. And you know, in the last chorus especially, he, you know, embellished and took it to another level. And you know, his soaring high vocals contrasted with mine that are a bit lower. It had a really nice effect. So yeah, it wasn't really sculpted in any way. It kind of just happened in the first demo. I sort of had whenever I listened to a demo instrumental, I listened to it for maybe like a week or so to get a good idea of like where I want to take the song, and I kind of like, in a sense, I sculpted in my own head before it ever hits the audio interface, or not interface, sorry, but audio workspace. So I have a good idea of like where I want syllables to sit and where I want all that stuff to go ahead of time in my brain. If that's how it like comes out in the song, that's a different sort of thing where it's not always going to translate exactly from how you imagine it to the song, but this one for the most part did, because I wanted to keep it. I was more focused on melody than trying to show off in a way where like either like high vocals or singing into a high range of pitch. I just wanted to make something catchy, because the instrumental and the lead guitar especially itself is one of my favorite parts on the album. And yeah, like a lot of the lead guitar is just really pushing me to write that catchy stuff. And obviously the rhythm of the song as well helps. So I just take all that into account, think about it for a few days before going into recording it. I record at home, so
Yeah.
just recording in general. So yeah, and keep in mind that like this album and all the work I've ever done is basically all recorded from home, which is really cool. So I think the guitars on this album were done by our engineer, which is Roman Karyakov. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He nails it every time, and he helps record all the guitars for this album once we had them written. So I just sit with those instrumentals and let them stew for a little while, and then I come back to record, and I kind of know what direction I want to take it. Yeah, but I'll just touch on the meaning for this song quickly. It's pretty simple to go over. I won't spend too much time on it, but it's basically just about, I mean, the song talks about it. It's pretty self-explanatory in the lyrics as well, so people can go through and read it, in their own time and get a feeling for what I mean by this. But it's about, I guess everyone has vices, and it's been the subject touched on in a lot of other songs and a lot of other music, so it's a bit of a cliche, but it's about kind of like almost like a vice being a person, if that makes sense. So you find people might find comfort in smoking or drinking or whatever, but when you find comfort in a person that you get along with very well, once again, whether it's a relationship or family or whatever, and then you find out things about that person, once again similar to Werewolf, it kind of brings that concept back over, where it's it could be a toxic relationship or something along those lines, where it's just easier to stay in that sort of awful situation than move away from it, which is what kind of better the devil means. It's easier to go with something that's familiar rather than something that's either getting out of that place or trying something different. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
I love it. Well, I'm sure most people that are in the stream know this already. If you haven't, enjoy. This is Better the Devil You Know. Thanks for the raid, Brad, as well. How you doing, buddy?
Never again, oh no, never again, you
Absolutely. So up next, again, I've seen it mentioned a few times. You mentioned it yourself as one of your favourites on the album. Tell us about When in Rome.
All right, so when in Rome, I mean, the name basically comes from the phrase that a lot of people know as, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, which basically means, I guess, when you're in either whether it's like an unfamiliar situation or an unfamiliar place, you just do as other people would do. You basically, I guess you react according to other people and in certain situations or cultures or whatever. But in this situation, it's based on person. It's based on that relationship that keeps coming up throughout the album, and it's a very self-explanatory sort of song, which the lyrics kind of hammer in pretty bluntly, which was intentional, was very intentional, because it was basically me getting this off my chest. This is a very cathartic song for me, writing this, because at the end of the relationship, this is the song that's mainly about that relationship that I was talking about. I never really got closure for, why, or rather, I feel like I didn't get enough closure on, why 3 years of my life were coming to an end. Which is upsetting. It is,
Sure.
Especially not to know the full reason behind it. To have that person, kind of disappear out of your life, kind of for good, because you try to talk to them afterwards, you try to stay friends, but it just doesn't, or for me, it didn't work. And that's upsetting. And I still, you still never get, I still never got a reason as to why, it all kind of happened in the first place. I had, obviously, like I said, along the way, and when you're at that kind of like, at the end of things, like, things get said, but it's like, it was happening from both of us. So, it turns into a very, an easy time to blame each other or blame one person. But the way that like this particular thing ended, it's like there wasn't really any talking about what the cause was, or why it happened, or why it was such a drastic decision to kind of just cut the cord. So yeah, this song was about me asking, that question, that's been on my mind for a long time, that I still don't have an answer to, and I'll never get an answer to. Because it was never explained to me. It was never told to me. It was just kind of like a very cold thing that happened, where it was like, wake up one day and then it's just gone. So that's just kind of a really hard thing to deal with and not know why. Especially after such a long period of time. So yeah, this song just basically talks very bluntly about that sort of thing. And how it either made me feel, how I'm feeling currently, or hopefully relating this to other people that have been through the same thing. Just about not getting closure or catharsis on such a large period of your life that you've put time and effort into making a very big deal in your life, and then just getting it all, it all just disappears one day, and then you have you're given no reason or no what would you say, I guess no reason to why it ended. Like, you might have an idea, but yeah, it's a very probably the most personal song on the album from me, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. This is When in Rome.
When in Rome, so alone, 'cause I'm stuck thinking of you every night, thinking of what we could do with so much time. Apart, please, wear my soul around them. You can see for yourself that what you mean to me is everything, but still you close your eyes, trying to cauterize the wounds that you inflicted, that I predicted. can't promise I'll be okay when the memories of you rush back again. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Say what you mean, no, don't hide a thing from me, girl. 'Cause I already know your frustrations and contemplations have all just grown. I pretend but resist me. When all of it been washed away, I can't promise I'll be okay. The memories of you rush back again. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So all that is left are the ashes in my mouth, with this taste of regret that I can't seem to get out. For all the good I've done, I feel just stealing down. Nothing to claim and nowhere to run. You've left it all undone. So now the seasons change and the autumn has come as the leaves fall down in the shade of the sun. But we know this cycle's gotta break. Can't go another winter hiding myself away. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Why don't you love me anymore? Is it 'cause it's not like it felt before? Tell me it's alright, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Wow, honestly, truly stunning, mate. A lot of people in the chat feeling obviously very emotional for it. You believe every word you sing. It's yeah, incredible.
Yeah, well, that's why that chorus repeats so much. That's exactly what you said just then. That it feel that chorus just feels good to sing to me. It's my favorite chorus on the album to sing.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
Not just because of the lyrics, but because of that melody. Just it just like it's probably it's my favorite on the album just because the lyrics combined with the melody just feel the most cathartic to sing for me on the album, and the meaning behind the song for me, of course, is very important.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I'll just touch on that chorus quickly before we move on. It's like the part where it says, where is it? Sorry. Tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's basically saying like, like it's like tell me, like basically saying like, I hope it's not the end because I hope there's something that comes after this that we can work through basically. And the song is like sad because that didn't end up happening. So it's a very sort of it's a repetitive chorus because of that fact. Like I want that to be heard the most in the song, I suppose.
I can tell you completely nailed it, because from the first time you hear it, it's perfect, and then like I don't know, like fourth and fifth time, it's one of those choruses that, like you said, I mean, hopefully for you, but it's like cathartic for the listener. So honestly,
yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible, honestly, dude.
Thank you.
I mean, just the comments on the stream, truly beautiful, just beautiful. Every track has been stunning. I was crying too. What a song! Like, yeah, it's just so powerful, man. So
yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Let's move on to the last track on the album, which again is up there for me as well. It's so difficult, but I think with just how it, like, my heart would always say "Better the Devil You Know," but I mean, it's just such an incredible album, top to bottom. It's just unbelievable quality. So tell us about.
That's the goal. That was the goal from the start, really.
You nailed it, my friend. So tell me, was Casablanca always the track you were thinking of closing the album out to, or was that kind of like a No, that came in very late. Sergey, we didn't really have a closer. We had like 9 tracks and then some other demos we were playing around with. Playing with Fire, we knew that was going to be the opener very early into the development of the album. That came along maybe, or not early, but maybe midway through it. That came around the time of writing Better the Devil You Know and Let's Pretend. Casablanca came in right at the end, pretty much. Sergey had like some songs that he'd written for another project of his that this song sounded pretty close to what it is now from Sergey's first demo. But then Max took it and made it sound more in line with what this album sounds like. So it was a very interesting thing to have someone that's primarily been a vocalist in our music actually step in and write a song for an album. It's interesting, and hopefully Sergey will be doing more of it on the next album, and and involving him more, because that's what I want for every member to be as involved as they can be, or to what degree that they want to be involved. But this came in very late. It's Sergey's first song that he's done instrumentally for any of our music. So I'm really proud of it for that fact, and so is he. We all are. And yeah, basically it's a song that basically just it tries to lighten up the mood a little after such a dark and emotional album for me. So yeah, Casablanca, it's not about the place Casablanca in real life. It's kind of like about that more, I guess, imaginary place in your head, where it's like you're the nice place in your head, or the good place that you go to like after you've had all these kind of like emotions and arca songs and all that sort of stuff. It's like a nice breath of kind of, it's the catharsis of the album. And I've used that song a lot during talking about it, but that's really what this album is about finding. It's about finding catharsis with all these thoughts and wrestling with all these emotions and all that sort of stuff. So Casablanca is basically saying, like, I found a place for you and I where we can watch the clouds as they roll by, a paradise frozen in time. It's basically talking about like, I found a place for you and I is basically almost like talking about me and my head or my emotions. So it's not about another person, really. I usually use the terms you and I very loosely. They could be translated to
many different things, and they're never about a person and another person. It could be two kind of just concepts that I think the song is about. So like especially this song has a lot of references to our previous material in it. Especially the second verse, I think it is. Where is it? I'm just trying to find the lyrics. That's the screaming part. So, yeah, it's where we kept our heads in the clouds, daydreaming when no one's around. From Cloud 9, I fell, and then it says like right into this wishing well, which is one of the first songs from, or the first song rather that we ever did, which was called "A Wishing Well in a Town of Disbelief." There's references to Five All Goes West, the song series that we did. There's references to a bunch of stuff that I probably don't even remember lyrically in this album. So I think A Paradise Frozen in Time might be a reference to our song Prismatic. I tried to like pick out like references from pretty much a few key moments that we've done along the way and reference them back as lyrics in this song. And then there's also like a few Amorosa references strewn throughout it as well. So, especially at the end there where it says like, "We are life in this empty blue." That's just like I just wanted to slip that reference in there for some reason because of how influential it was to this album. Overall. So there's like a few little nods to things here and there. But yeah, this song is probably the most chaotic one on the album and probably the most reminiscent, like structurally and I guess in terms of complexity to Metropolis and some of our previous work.
Yeah.
And it's kind of more of a preview of what you'll be hearing from the next album as well. It won't sound exactly like Casablanca, but it's kind of a return to some of that. I wouldn't say lighter stuff. Like the album that we're currently working on now, the fourth album, is still has a pretty dark sound similar to this, but it has elements of that other stuff brought in from Metropolis and it's more inspired by some of our earlier work as well, which was like Kodiak Soul and stuff like that. So there's a bunch going on with this song that it has a lot of meaning, both for the future of the band and for the song itself. So we thought it was the perfect song to end the album on, just because it had that sense of a more hopeful tone and it was in a more happy place lyrically. So going through that slog of just emotional and darker songs to get to that point felt really nice. It felt like you're taking a breath after holding your breath for so long.
Yeah.
And that's basically what the song's about. Yeah, it's about finding that place and finding that catharsis, taking that breath after having all these thoughts bottled up for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, absolutely love it. And again, dude, thank you so much for coming on and being so thorough. Doing the word, the term deep
pleasure.
dive a service. I honestly, I think it's incredible. Just seeing how how
find it so easy to talk, so it's easy for me. So yeah,
you've come to the right stream, my friend.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, obviously, there's a couple of us that are also very excited for new Valiant Hearts, and I know there is the new album this year as well. So as soon as that drops, if you would be available to do the same again, it would
absolutely
honestly be a pleasure. This is the final track on Galleon self-titled. This is Casablanca.
I'll wait for you, even when time won't go by. Taking the view of this never-ending